On March 19, 2026, the impossible happened. The F-35 Lightning II, America's $100 million ghost in the sky, what was supposed to be the absolute pinnacle of air dominance, well, it suddenly became very, very visible. High over the skies of central Iran, the myth of its invincibility was shattered by a single, silent flash of heat. A grainy thermal video, released by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, told a story that Western military planners had always dismissed as pure fantasy.
At first, it was easy to write off as just propaganda. But then this statement dropped from U.S. Central Command. Captain Tim Hawkins went on the record and confirmed the unthinkable. It wasn't just some wild claim anymore. It was a confirmed combat incident. The most expensive weapon system in human history had been hit.
Now, the official reports you're hearing, they only tell you a tiny fraction of the story. You see, the real damage wasn't to the plane's airframe. It was to a $1.7 trillion program and the entire strategic foundation of the rest. Stay till the end, because I am going to reveal the shocking data that is now in the hands of Russia and China, and believe me, it changes everything. Let's get into this explainer.
As a retired Air Force engineer, I can tell you, this is the exact scenario we wargamed for years, but always hoped would just stay hypothetical. So today, we're going to conduct a full post-mortem. We'll start with what happened, dive right into the physics, break down the kill chain, and then unpack the strategic fallout. Let's begin. So first up, a myth is shattered. The day the ghost in the sky was hit. You have to understand, the F-35 isn't just a jet. It's the absolute cornerstone of NATO's air power for the next half-century. It's designed to be the apex predator, completely unrivaled. And yet, there it was, clear as day on IRGC thermal video, just a glowing target against the cold night sky. The shockwave from this one hit was felt in every Allied capital, from London to Tokyo. And that leads us to the one critical question being asked inside the Pentagon and at Lockheed Martin right now. How in the world do you hit an aircraft that is specifically designed to be invisible? The answer, it turns out, isn't about tactics, it's about the fundamental science of stealth itself. Which brings us right to our second section, seeing the invisible and uncovering the science of stealth and its one fatal flaw. See, this part isn't about politics or propaganda, this is about physics. And it looks like Iran exploited a very, very basic law of physics that no amount of money or technology can change. So let's be clear, what is stealth? It's not an invisibility cloak like in the movies. The technical term is low observability, and it's almost entirely focused on defeating one thing: radar. The F-35's weird, exotic shape and its special skin are all designed to either absorb radar waves or bounce them away from the enemy, making this massive jet appear as small as a golf ball on a radar screen. But here's the thing, radar isn't the only way to see. And this slide, this right here, is the whole ballgame. Radar is an active system. It has to scream a signal out into the dark and then listen for an echo. The F-35 is a master at silencing that echo. But thermal detection? It's passive. It doesn't send out a single thing. It just watches. It looks for heat. And every single jet engine, I don't care how advanced it is basically a controlled explosion that produces an unbelievable amount of heat. And to get an idea of just how big this heat problem is, you have to look at the engine. The F-35's Pratt & Whitney F-135 is the most powerful fighter engine ever built. It generates a staggering 43,000 pounds of thrust. In the world of physics, that's not just power, that is a massive, and I mean massive, unavoidable thermal event. And all that incredible power comes at a cost. It generates this enormous, inescapable plume of superheated gas. Now sure, the F-35 has design features to try and cool its exhaust, but you simply cannot break the laws of thermodynamics. Against the freezing 50 below zero temperatures of the upper atmosphere, that engine's heat signature glows like a bonfire. And that, right there, that is the F-35's Achilles heel. Okay, so let's look at the Iranian kill chain and see exactly how their Bavar 373 system exploited this weakness. For years, everybody dismissed the Bavar 373 as just a cheap Russian knockoff. Well, it turns out they weren't just cloning old tech, they were adapting it, specifically to hunt Western stealth aircraft. What you're looking at here is the brutal elegance of what we call a passive ambush. Instead of shouting its location with radar, the Bavar 373 just waits, and it watches, using advanced thermal sensors. Once it gets a lock on the F-35's brilliant heat signature against that cold sky, it can launch a missile without ever sending out a single electronic warning signal. And that is the crucial step. It completely bypasses the F-35's entire electronic defense suite. the pilot is effectively blind, right up until the moment of impact.
Now, this technical failure didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened inside a political pressure cooker. And that brings us to Section 4, rhetoric versus reality. The disconnect between the confident statements coming out of Washington and the brutal facts on the ground could not be more stark.
For weeks leading up to this incident, the official narrative was one of total, unquestioned American dominance. President Trump himself had claimed that the U.S. had totally obliterated Iran's military capabilities. The message to the public was clear. Iran was broken. They posed no significant threat.
But the data? Well, the data paints a very, very different picture. Since this conflict ramped up, documented U.S. losses have been significant. We're talking up to a dozen high-value Reaper drones, 3 F-15s tragically lost in a friendly fire incident, and multiple KC-135 tankers destroyed or damaged. The F-35 being hit wasn't some isolated fluke. It was the culmination of a campaign that proved Iran's military is not just functional, but dangerously adaptive.
But the impact of this single hit goes so much further than just one damaged aircraft. What it's created is a global treasure trove of intelligence for America's adversaries. And it threatens the entire F-35 program.
You've got to remember, the F-35 is a global platform. 19 nations, from the UK and Israel to Japan and Australia, have literally bet their national security on this one aircraft. Its vulnerabilities are now their vulnerabilities. You can be sure the confidence of every single one of those allies has been shaken to its core.
And this brings us to the real prize Iran captured. The shocking reveal I promised you. It wasn't the damaged jet, it was the data. By tracking and engaging the F-35, their systems recorded its precise thermal signature under combat conditions. Its speed, its altitude, its exact heat bloom. That isn't just data, that's a blueprint. A blueprint for Russia and China to fine-tune their own sensors to hunt every F-35 in the sky.
And here is the absolutely devastating truth. You can't issue a software update to fix engine heat. This isn't a bug you can just patch. Reducing a thermal signature requires a fundamental redesign of the engine and the airframe itself, and for the thousands of F-35s that are already built and flying, that is physically and financially impossible.
So where does this leave us?
Well, that's Section 6, the future of air war. The F-35's cloak of invisibility has been torn, and frankly, it may never be repaired.
The hard lesson here is that in warfare, there is no such thing as a permanent advantage. No technology is ever truly unkillable. The cat-and-mouse game between offense and defense never ever ends. The age where one single ultra-expensive platform could guarantee dominance, well, that seems to be over. It's being replaced by a world where cheaper, passive sensors can challenge the most advanced fighters ever built.
Which leaves us with the final, unsettling question. Was this a 1 in a million lucky shot by an adversary everyone underestimated? Or are we witnessing a fundamental shift in air power, where the F-35 has finally and very publicly met its match? The answer to that is going to define the next century of conflict.
This story is far from over, and the strategic response from the U.S. and its allies is going to define the next decade. We'll be tracking every single update right here. To make sure you don't miss any of our follow-up analyses, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.